Hello, and welcome to another edition of Whale FM, where we are connecting with the hottest movers and shakers in the metaverse and the NFT ecosystems today. I'm Ilus Gavia. Please join me in kicking off another episode of Makersplace by Whale. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing our special guest for this episode, the thought-provoking Leo Caillard. He has made a career of toying with our relationship with time as a cultural artifact, often juxtaposing historical sculptures and modern-day sartorial choices. His drop today, meta statues, digitally combines stone statues and modern elements such as Bitcoin and VR headsets. In addition to his direct creative expressions, he has quite a lot of physical as well as digital works. Thank you so much for your time today. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much for your invitation. I'm very happy to be with you today. And actually, yes, it's an interesting concept to mix real physical marble pieces, because I am also marble sculptures for 10 years and digital NFT, like pure digital art. I started with digital art 10 years ago. I did a famous digital school in Paris, France, named Les Gobelins. And then I wanted to go onto marble carving statues. So I went to the Beaux-Arts and I went to Italia to work on marble stones. And now I mix the both aspects since 2020, working mostly on very exclusive 1-1 pieces, very limited editions, 1 to 10 maximum. And I did drop on Super Rare, I did drop on Nifty Gateway. I do have a large NFT community who is starting to following my work, and I'm very happy to be with you and to do this Genesis drop on Makersplace, because Makersplace means a lot to me. I think it's a beautiful marketplace with a strong art value, and I'm very happy to show you these 4 statues.
Thank you very much for that. One of the things that to me just blew my mind is I had the image up a moment ago was you dressing a statue in modern clothing. But before we kind of dig into that, I wanted to spend a little bit of time understanding how you first got started, what your artistic journey was like, and just kind of walk us through the thought process, because it seems like there's been a bit of an evolution in your work.
Definitely. So I started as a photographer in 2010. I used to live in New York in 2008, 2009. So actually, I have seen at this time the very beginning of the blockchain and the Bitcoin. I didn't understand exactly what was at this time, but it catch my interest because I was a digital artist already, doing like digital manipulation on photography. And my first series, my first success as an artist was the hipsters in stone that you can see in the back. It's the dressed up statues over there. I worked with the Louvre Museum and I dressed statues up because at this time in 2010 it was the strong push of Instagram, the strong push of the social medias, and it was very interesting to see that the style of the statues, the long hair, the long beards, started to go back as a fashion style in the society. And I had a strong success with this series of like 20 dressed up statues, like photography and real dressed up statues. I mean, I go to the Louvre Museum and I dress the statues up on Tuesday when it's closed, and I can be in touch with this kind of amazing classical art and past art from the Greek, like the Greek and Roman time. It's amazing because I think my journey as a sculptor, as a marble sculptor, started in 2010 when I started to dress the statues up, because I wanted to do the statues by myself as well. And I had the chance to go to Italia, to go to different art schools and to start to do it on my own. And since that day, I had several exhibitions. Like this one was in London in 2017, and that one they used my hipsters in stone photography for a large exhibition in Germany in 2019. So yeah, it's kind of funny because it was the beginning of my art journey, starting with digital art in 2010, going back to marble sculptures in between 2015 and 2020, and now going back strongly onto digital art since 2020 with the NFT rise.
Well, this particular collection here on Nifty Gateway is just, to me, it really makes me appreciate these sculptures in a different light. I mean, this one right here in particular on the left, had I seen it unclothed, I would have just thought it was like a Greek or Roman representation of either a god, a deity, or some sort of artistic representation. But now it almost makes it seem like an approachable person that you can almost picture in an everyday situation. So to me, when I first discovered this, it really made me stop and think.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the goal. I try to mix the past and the present, and also the future. Like the Makerspace drop, it's all about the future version of the status. Because to me, the time is like a circle. When we do a selfie, we do exactly like the Narcissus of the past. We look at ourselves. It's an ego work. So we are definitely linked to the past. And I like to do that in my work, to bring the statues from the past and to make them alive today with the modern accessories and like VR headset and gas mask and things like this. They look like somebody of today. And I like this concept of I play with the time as a circle and not as a line.
So what was the spark or inspiration that led to this sort of approach? Because it's definitely unique. And I mean, if I look at the statue of Bruce Lee with a VR headset, it seems almost like it loses a little bit of the potency and the intimidation factor that the statue has without it, when it seems like he's looking in at you. And now it's like, oh, well, maybe he's doing a fighting game and he's not really a threat. So what was the spark? Like, what was the drive behind that creative genius?
I think the metaverse is asking us the question of reality. Headset with gaming and digital technology, the reality and the virtuality get more and more closer. And I like to play with these iconic figures, like if they were coming from gamings. And actually, you have a lot of very famous games recently, like God of War or Assassin's Creed, that plays with the past and with this kind of concept. And to me, the Bruce Lee doing a VR headset game, it's like bringing a very new vision of the martial art, like something completely different that you can see in the Bruce Lee movies. And that's exactly the same when the Discobolus, like a bit down in the page, when he's throwing the Bitcoin, he's not throwing a disc anymore. It's like he's throwing a coin. And I like to play with concept and to kind of twist the mind and to push you to see the statues in a new way.
No, that's definitely thought-provoking. And you mentioned that you spent time also sculpting like physical sculptures as well, and not just doing fully digital. Have you found that the work of one helps the other, or is it that one of actually you almost make it harder on yourself because you understand the work involved in sculpting an actual stone statue, that you don't have to worry about that sort of texture and dynamic, or at least the effort involved in polishing a sculpture in a digital medium?
It's very fun because I do 3D sculpting like on softwares, like on ZBrush and Blender and things like this since 2010, because I started with a digital art school. And I never give up on 3D sculpting. When I started to do marble sculptures, I kept on working on computer to do my concept and work on sculpting things that I have in my head to see if I will be able to do it in marble afterward. The concept of creation is kind of the same as a sculptor. When you work on computer, you must have a clear vision of what you want to achieve. And working on ZBrush is very close as working on marble. The main difference is that you can be much more free working on computer because you can imagine whatever you have in mind. When I work on a real marble stone, it's of course much more intense because it takes time. It's kind of physical as well. and it's very interesting because I love the touch of the material of the stone. But in the meantime, it's kind of frustrating because I can never achieve exactly what I have in mind, because the marble stone can break. It's very hard to do very large pieces. You can check on my gallery website, or you can check on my Instagram later as well if you want to see some of my marble sculptures. But yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful material. I definitely love it. But it will be kind of impossible to do this kind of discovery throwing a Bitcoin in full marble, or this kind of Bruce Lee in real human size with that much details. It's doable, but it's almost impossible. And working on the digital version of what I have in my head, it's kind of very enjoyable as an artist, because I can mix the pure perfection and the reality part of it when I mix both pieces in exhibition.
Do you have a preference for physical versus digital medium?
I believe it will live together now. That's why I am working in NFT for the long term, because I believe the technology will completely change the relation we have with reality. I'm a gamer. I do gaming as well on my own since I am like 12. I'm born with the internet. I have seen the internet arrive when I was 10. It's kind of exciting to see that now people understand, like with NFT, you can make art through digital pieces. And that means a lot, because you can have an exclusive, unique piece, even if it's a digital one. It's an art piece because you can't have much more than 1 or 5 or 10, depending on the edition. I started to buy NFT in 2020, and I was kind of very confused, because I was asking to myself, is it something that will bring me some happiness of owning, like ownership feelings? And actually it does. And it's very nice, because I think that's what people are looking at when they are buying art. Of course, they like the concept of the object, but they want to feel like owning something special, like feeling this kind of ownership. And you feel that exactly the same, with the NFT collection. And I realized that. And I think it's very good for a lot of topics, like in an ecological aspect, it's very interesting as well to start owning virtual things. And also as a concept of, how can I say that in English? I'm sorry about that, because I am a French native speaking, so I do my best to explain this kind of a specific concept. It's very interesting to detach yourself with the reality, like owning the reality. We don't own the world. And I like the fact that when you buy an NFT, you own the NFT, but you don't take it off the internet. Like, everybody can still enjoy it. And that's a very amazing concept.
And never apologize if you are struggling for words or to make an explanation, because we recognize that English is not your first language, and we are very appreciative of the fact that you are doing this in English for our benefit. But since I happen to speak French, I'm more than happy to help if you need it. So rest at ease. I'm here to help you. But so given that you see this sort of long-term trajectory, and it seems like I didn't get a clear answer if you have a preference for physical versus digital, but it seems like you're leaning more towards digital for the long term, but physical gives you that tangible aspect that is hard to reproduce.
Both will stay. I mean, we need reality as well, and that's why actually I like to mix both of them. I'm going to Italian on tomorrow to do the first exhibition of real marble pieces linked to NFT version of themselves. So it's an interesting concept, because I think we are at the very beginning of the NFT journey. We're gonna have to try much more different aspects of it. And as an artist, as a marble sculptures, I definitely want to try new way to do experience on NFT. It's a fantastic tool for art, and I think we will have to move forward on different ideas on it.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, given that you mentioned you're a gamer as well, have you spent much time in the metaverses right now that helps inform the pieces that you're producing, or is that integration still yet to be revealed to us in your future endeavors?
I can't reveal too much right now, but I'm
Okay.
working with Sandbox and On Cyber to do like a museum. I do work with different museums, like the Louvre Museum and different places in Paris. And alongside this kind of partnership, I think I will start to display my own pieces alongside this kind of museum in the metaverse. But it's not done yet. And I think it is just the beginning of all what we can do in the metaverse. I spend a lot of time on it just to understand. And I think it will still growing, but we will need some kind of technological revolutions. And I don't know if the technology it's completely done and perfect yet, but it will arrive very, very soon, I guess.
So maybe sooner than people expect.
I think so. It will still
And
take a couple of years, but definitely in less than 5 years, it will be I won't say something normal, but like something that the majority of human on Earth do like every month.
okay. Well, I think we in this community are aligned with that vision that it will become second nature for most people. But taking a step back to your career, what would you say has been a highlight so far? Has there been any moment that you've stopped and thought, "I've made it," or maybe it's still to come because you're just not satisfied yet?
As an artist, when you start to say to yourself, I made it, it's a big, big problem. It means you are in trouble because I will explain you a little story that I love because I love, of course, the classical art. And I will talk about Michelangelo. Michelangelo, they gave him the Chapel 16, the 16 chapel to paint, like the most important place on earth at that time, like the Vatican and the Chapel 16. They gave to him to do it. It was the biggest rock star at this time as an artist. It was Michelangelo, and he didn't know on top of the 16 chapel if he had to make the fingers touch in between God and the human, like and it took a lot of time to him to realize it will never touch. You will never make it as an artist, and as a human being you will never make it neither. We will die before. I'm sorry about that. Maybe we will live in the metaverse a bit longer, but like doing it, it's okay, it's game over. You just did it, and it's kind of sad actually. And I like this idea of never making it the way we want, because that's where life is exciting. It's in this little space in between. So yeah, I had some very good exhibition, especially in 2017. This book in London, so the classical now, because I had the chance to exhibit alongside very established artists such as Damien Hirst, Jeff Koons, and big names in the art world. I do a lot of exhibition in art fairs in Miami, in France, in London. So I am kind of in the game now, in the art market game, but I don't care about making it. I think art is something different. As soon as you feel that as an artist, you are in a bad spot, and that's not the point. End of the day.
Okay, fair enough. So if you don't feel like
As
you've
an artist,
made it
you are
yet,
in a bad spot,
what?
and that's not the
Hold
point.
on a
End of
second.
the day. There might be a little delay. I think you hear my voice.
Yeah, just realize that. So sorry for that technical issue.
There might be a little delay. I think.
Let's try that again.
1 2 and 2.
Let's try that again.
1 2 and 2.
Hold on one second. See what happened. I have no idea what's going on.
If you want, I can disconnect and reconnect.
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. I come back in a minute.
Yeah, let's try that.
Let's see. How is it going?
Seems to be working now.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No worries. Not a problem at all.
How is it going?
Well, seems to be working now.
Okay. One last try.
Yeah, no, I think we're working now. So the other question I had is, I guess if there is no sort of making it that you feel like you're always still working toward it, has there maybe been an element that has been the most personally rewarding so far, or what has been the most exciting part of your career so far, and why?
I think the first time I made real marble sculptures without breaking it, because at the beginning, when you start as a marble sculptures, like you spend like 2 years breaking statues and not achieving what you had in your head. So the first time I made it the real sculptures for real, it was like a kind of an achievement. And since that time, I will say that the most important as an artist is the connection we have with the collectors, the community. And that's why I love the Web3 and the NFT as well, because it's all about building a concept of ownership in between the artist and the buyers. Like buyers, it's not a good name. It's like you support the work of the artist by having his NFTs. And I like this concept of being in touch with the people who support my art, because I think they are also part of the art piece. End of the day, it's not only the artist and the NFT, it's also the guy who will decide to own it. And I like to make this link in between. And I think the most rewarding things as an artist is to be in touch with a lot of people who like your art, who defend it, who talk about it on social medias. It's very exciting to see that the art piece live by itself. And yeah, it happens more and more these days, and I'm very happy about that.
Okay. And I want to kind of switch tack a little and start talking about the drop itself. But before I do, I wanted to kind of get your perspective of what it was like working with your brother, because as I understand it, he provided some of the music accompanying the artwork.
Definitely. I mean, we have the chance to be like in an amazing brotherhood. He's working as a musician. I'm working as an artist, doing physical piece and digital art. And these days, I was struggling with something was missing in my NFTs. I wanted to have a full audio visual concept. And I said to him, okay, maybe it would be great if you imagine some kind of piano or music on it. And he did what he does very well. He did an amazing soundtrack on each NFTs, and I will do that more and more in the future, like sound designing things with him to work as a brotherhood on it. And it's very nice, very nice. I'm very happy with this result, because I believe we don't use sound enough in digital.
Well, I was gonna play this one for the community just so they can get a sense of your brother's score. It's very surreal and adds a completely different element to the piece. And I agree with you. We don't see this nearly enough.
Exactly, exactly. I believe the music is the outside of the frame. You have the visual with the inside of the frame, and the music gives you a feeling of the outside, of the global ambient. And I like that. I like this idea. It brings another level of art on it, and it's definitely interesting. So yeah, I worked a lot on these sculptures because it's a lot of work to have this kind of details and stone rendering, also to make it very realistic, full of little scratch and details on it. And I push myself hard to bring art into NFT because I want to respect my red line, my value, and to keep this kind of connection in between the past and the future. And I believe this drop is a good one because I do present very limited edition of 5, edition of 10 only on the Discobolis, and a unique edition of 1 on the Bruce Lee. And my value on super rare, it's like close to 10 Ethereum recently. I had the chance to sell very, very high valued piece so far. And
these pieces here?
Yeah. This one is on the secondary market for a very high price. And the last one received an offer at 9 Ethereum. So yeah, I think the drop on Makerspace is definitely a good opportunity to have some of my piece for a very nice price. Because it's kind of harder to reach that price on galleries, on exhibition, in auction. It's very hard to get my piece for a low price now. And I want to do this Genesis drop on Makerspace as a very affordable one because I think it's important to give a chance to newcomers to buy an art they like for a reasonable price.
And in order to do this, there's clearly a lot of work that went involved. When did you start planning this project? Like, when did you start the drop? Because there's clearly a lot of detail, just like you mentioned in the 4 statues, and then also working with your brother to incorporate the musical elements. But how long was this process from when you started to do this, like you conceived of it, until now that we're seeing it about to drop later today?
Getting this kind of state of mind, looking at ideas around me. But I won't take that time in consideration. I will say it takes like something about 3 to 4 months to do from nothing to that, the full concept. Because I need to have ideas, I need to work on sculptures that takes a lot of time. I need to do the renders properly, fail, do it again, start again, and finally find that we have to add the music on it and go back in the studio with my brother. Yeah, it's a long process. It's not like 4 months of full 10 hours per day, but it's definitely more than 100 hours of work on these pieces.
Well, I think it definitely shows. And just for everyone looking at this again, that drop is later today at about just under 4 hours from now. So that'll be about 6:30 Eastern. That would be about 11:30 in Europe, your time.
Yeah, it's almost midnight, actually, the time of the drop in Paris, but definitely 11 in London, midnight in Paris. A bit late, but I think the real will be there.
Well, let's be honest. Are you going to be staying up late watching the drop, seeing how fast it sells out?
Actually, it's kind of hard as an artist to not be in front of your computer when you do a drop, not only for the sales, but also for the connection you can make with the buyers on my Discord, on my social media. Most of the time I receive a lot of questions and messages, and I like to be here because it shows that I respect my art and I want to be here for it. Tonight it's a bit special because I have to leave very early tomorrow to Italia for an exhibition in Milano. So I will do my best to stay, but maybe not after 1 p.m. So we'll see.
Okay, well, fair enough. And I am. Will there be another Makerspace drop after this one, or will it be determined by the success of tonight's drop?
I think I believe tonight drop will be successful because I do work on the community and my own collectors will be on it as well. I believe it's a limited edition. We will see. I don't expect anything, but I definitely want to work on the long term with Makerspace as well. So we definitely will have a second drop afterward, and we are planning to do like rewards for holders, especially of the limited edition and the unique edition. We will work on a second drop with like reward auctions for the first holders.
Okay, so you heard it here first that there are planned additional sort of benefits for whoever can snap up that one of one in the limited editions.
Exactly, that's the plan, because I believe it's important in the Web3 and in the NFT to apply this kind of concept of defending the early buyers, and I like to do that as well because of them I will go forward in my art, and I will be able to do new pieces and new work. So it's important to give this kind of reward. I don't exactly know the shape it will take. Maybe it will be physical as well, like fine art print, signed, or things like this. But it will also be, I think, an open edition, a raffle edition for the first drop holders.
Okay, so in future drops, are you planning on incorporating additional utility? Because you mentioned that the concept of rewarding early adopters is very much a Web3 concept, but so is the concept of embedding utility into the NFTs.
I have many ideas about NFTs, about utilities, because this is a code. We are talking about, like, when we talk about NFT, it's a code. It's an informatical code. And we can add so much interesting things inside. My ideas will be to add a time process. Because I work on time, on the concept of time, I would love that some of my NFTs evolve over time. Like, if you hold it during 2 years, it will give you an access to a secret NFT or something like this. I will definitely add this kind of concept in the coming works I will do.
Okay. So you community, you heard it here first that Leo is hard at work thinking of utility that he will be embedding into his pieces going forward. So something to definitely keep an eye on as we watch this space. Now, I want to pause for a moment and see if there are any questions that come in from the community. But one of the things that I wanted to ask while I make sure to give them the opportunity to ask that is, what has been an inspiration for you? Like any artwork or artists, or where do you draw your inspiration when you're starting to conceive of new ideas?
I like the word serendipity. It's a kind of complicated word. I think it's this one in English. In French, it's serendipité.
Serendipity in English.
Yeah, it means to be open to inspiration. And I think being an artist, it's a bit of this as well. It doesn't come from one way. It comes from a lot of different aspects of life that you try to mix all together. But if I stay focused on the art world, I would say the first shock that I had with the sculptures was the sculptures from a Greek sculptor named Praxitèle, because I have seen some in the Louvre, and he made such beautiful pieces like 3,000 years ago. And it's like amazing to see the techniques of Praxitèle in this past Greek period of time. After that, I would say the sculptures that you can see in Roma, like the Laocoon or the Discobolus as well, because they come from the Greek period of time and they are so perfect. When you try to go back to the techniques they had at this time and you look at the piece, you just can't accept the level of detail they reached at that time. It's just amazing. And of course, later on, like Michelangelo, Le Bernin, 17th century in Italia, Le Bernin made like some of the most beautiful sculptures ever. And more like in the recent time in the contemporary art, I would say artists, many of them, like Hugo Rondinone, I very love what he does. Of course, Damien Hirst, because it's so, I don't know, it's so genius, it's so exciting. Many of them, and also a bit from the science part as well, because I did a lot of reading about Stephen Hawking, physical quantum physics, and I like this concept of time in science. Give me a lot of inspiration as well.
Okay. And we did get an interesting question from the community. I'm going to read it to you, and it's verbatim. Does he feel there is an obligation when making digital art to use the entire medium, meaning not just visual, but audio as well? And if yes, does this take away from an artist completely expressing themselves, given they will have to collaborate to do this?
This is a very interesting question. Because we are talking about audiovisual concept, yes, I believe, that's my point of view. I believe it's important to use all the aspects of the digital art. It means the sound and the visual. And that's why I decided to work with my brother, because I don't want to give away the control on the creation. And I know he understands exactly what I have in mind. And I know him. I know his touch is very close to mine. I don't think I could work with somebody else than him on the sound design aspect, because it's very hard as an artist to give away the control on the creation. And I'm kind of very sensible on that subject. I want to be able to control every aspect of my art. It's not that I don't give him the possibility to do whatever he wants. It's just that I know that because he's my brother, he will do what I want by himself. And that's very interesting to work this way, because we just understand each other. I just have to show him the visual, the 3D, the concept, and I know he will do the right sound for it.
And for those of in the community that want to follow your work more closely and want to be aware of the new developments in you and your artwork, what is the best way for them to stay on top of things?
My most important community is on Instagram, because I started as a visual artist, so it was more or less like the easier way to do it. But now it's growing very well on Twitter. Recently, I'm about to reach like 4K followers, and it's growing very fast. So Instagram or Twitter, both are very good to follow my art. I always post like once a day, and I give all details of drops and IDs days before the drops. And if you want to be very close to the backstage of it, you can follow me on my Discord. It's on the link tree. You can follow on my own Discord, and then you will be in advance in the backstage process. Like the second last one, you have website and Discord at the end.
Yep, I was just dropping the link tree into our Discord so that our community members that are listening in can go ahead and follow the links to the pieces of your social media that they want to follow.
Thank you.
And I don't see any other questions coming through, so I'm going to ask one that I've been wanting to ask about working with your brother, because I know that sometimes those relationships are sometimes, let's say, strained or challenged. You mentioned a little that you trusted him to express in his art your elements. Was there a lot of back and forth trying to get it just right, and did tensions start boiling over?
No, I don't think so. I think in the future I will try to do the opposite way. I will try to give him the sound before the visual. I will ask him to do the composition of musics, and the music that I like, I will work on a concept especially for the music, like doing the opposite way. It could be an interesting experience to make a status based on music. So maybe it's a future ideas, but on this kind of music on sculptures we made, I didn't have to go that much back and forth, because, as I said, I trust him to do exactly the right things for it. I don't know if it was the right answer or the right question.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
It's definitely just that it's good to see that the creative process evolved in the way it did. But in this particular case, since the artwork is the statue and then the music came next, if you do it that he gives you the music and then you create the artwork, will it still be your drop or would it be his drop?
It will be his drop, obviously. And that's interesting to do this way as well. I think being an artist in the NFT world, it's to be open to collab. I did that with Roger on Nifty Gateway last 2 weeks ago. It was an amazing drop with another French artist. I like this idea of mixing the creations.
Is this what you are referring to?
Yes, exactly. The melting one. It's like statues that I know, that I designed from the past, and he made kind of melting animation on it. So satisfying, very, very fun. And I like to do this kind of duo collab because it gives another layers of ideas, another layers of vision. And I believe the future of NFT will be much more like a connection in between a group of artists that only having few top artists and all the others. It will be much more like a mix in between. I like the mix, as you can imagine.
Is there anyone that you wish you could collaborate with that it would be almost like the dream collaboration for you?
Yeah, definitely. It's still in process. Actually, I am in touch with a strong artist of the NFT world. It's ongoing, so I can't reveal too much now. But yeah, obviously there is some big names I would love to collaborate on. I am not in touch, for example, with Akatao that I like a lot. The concept is completely different than my art, but I like the way they do the drawing and everything. I think it could be amazing on statues, like more realistic statues with drawing on it, like Akatao does. Many other artists. There are so much interesting art around the world. It will be very hard to give just one or two names, but I have my list. And I'm working on it slowly but surely.
Okay. Will any of them push you outside the sort of the classical statue concept? Because right now, most of the artwork that we've seen, whether it's the current drop, the hipsters, or the melting statue, still has very much that classical inspiration and foundation. Are any of these collaborations designed to push you outside of the realm of the classical?
The classical statues, is it the main subject of my art? Because I believe we need the past. We have to look at the past to build the future. It's a circle. Once again, we need the past to build the future because it's the same time. We need to know where we are coming from, like the statues, the backstage of the society. I don't know if I could be able to do a drop without this kind of aspect, but maybe if we have some kind of marble or stone inside of it, for example, maybe I could work with another artist without statues, but with like marble renders and stone renders, something that can link the drop to my style. Yeah, it's something doable, I guess.
Yeah, because I was envisioning almost like if you had influences from, let's say, India, and sort of very different than the style and aesthetic of the Greco-Roman classical approach, that there might be elements that would be for an interesting collaboration.
Yeah, I didn't have the chance to work on other kind of statues than the European Latin one, but it could be definitely interesting to work on completely different society statues, like Japanese, Chinese, Indian ones, because they don't have the same historical background. And working on these statues could be definitely interesting. Actually, I was thinking about the soldiers, the 10,000 soldiers in China. From the Han.
The statues.
They are very interesting.
Terracotta.
Yes, exactly. They are very inspiring. I think one day I will do something with this kind of other style of statue.
One of the community members pointed out that since you like time, it would be interesting if the statues showed the chronology of their creation. Is that something that you have experimented with or at least explored?
Do the backstage from the block stone to the finished statues, or do the backstage on the digital art? Because I can do both. I'm not sure to catch the question in the right way, but yeah, it's not the first person to ask me that. I should do like some time lapse on the process of my work, and I will manage to do that in the next few weeks and months.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly what they were getting at, showing the evolution of both.
Sounds good. It's in the plan as well, but I have so many things to do at the same time. It's definitely something that I plan to do next month. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So at least we know that this community member will be waiting with bated breath for that to come through.
Okay. I hope to not disappoint him, so I will do my best to do a nice one.
So what we're saying is no pressure.
Good. Good. It's good to do art with pleasure and passion, and never with pressure. And it's the best way to do good art. It's to do it with some time and a lot of passion.
All right, perfect. Well, I want to be sensitive to your time and the community's time, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you very much for joining us here today. And for everyone that was listening, don't forget we have the drop coming through later today in in 3 hours and 36 minutes. So that's coming through later today. Some wonderful pieces. And on that note, once again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you for all the community around. If you have any question, you can always check me on social media and ask me anything you have in mind. I will take time to answer.
Well, be careful. I may take you up on that.
Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.